What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Raised. If you have ever watched iCarly, you have probably noticed that the TV show is filled with some really grown-up jokes that the filmmakers managed to sneak in. There are indeed so many things that have to be exposed, and it is safe to say that there are plenty of grown-up themed secrets hidden in the show. So, here are the things you probably didn't notice as a kid because you didn't know where to look at. Number 6. Apartment 8 equals D. If you are a big iCarly fan, you have probably noticed so many things about this iconic show so far. But have you noticed the tiniest details, like the apartment where Freddie lived? We all know that Carly and her old brother live right across the hall from Freddie Benson and his mother's door, and the filmmakers managed to hide a little joke over there. Even with the very first episodes, you can notice that tiny detail as it is in plain sight. The address where Carly lives is 8-C, and it is shown near her apartment. As for Freddie, he lives in an apartment 8-D, but this dash looks more like an equal sign at first glance. It is safe to say that the address is very unfortunate for Freddie, as he is being mocked and dubbed a weenie. We hope you understand this emotional connection between a weenie and 8-D. If not, let's say Freddie lived in the eggplant apartment. However, many fans speculate that this 8-D thing wasn't planned, and this is just a result of viewers twisting content to fit their narrative. Well, maybe it makes sense, but it does look weird. Number 5. Two squirrels are not wrestling. There was a moment in the second season where Carly, Sam, Freddie, and Spencer decided to find the legendary Sasquatch. Our favorite characters learn from the news that the Bigfoot is real, and they decide to take Freddie's AV equipment so they can get evidence for their web show. But their tech was stolen by people in the woods, and now they can't scope the hairy guy that easily. So they had to use less than modern equipment to find their van, and they use binoculars. Freddie asks Carly, "Do you see anything?" She lists what she sees and adds, "and two squirrels wrestling." Freddie decides to take a look at that situation as well, and he then replies, "They're not wrestling." Realizing what she just saw, Carly's face changes and she lowers her binoculars. We are so grateful the camera didn't show us the party the two squirrels had.
They're not wrestling. Oh.
Number 4. Feet obsession. There was a huge scandal around Nickelodeon and the longtime showrunner Dan Schneider when many fans argued that even the very first season of iCarly was filled with the prevalence of feet and foot-related imagery. Many assumed that Dan Schneider was obsessed with feet, and that is why he included them in the show every time he had a chance to do that. We all know that there were a lot of complaints about Dan Schneider and the way he treated kids on Nickelodeon. Remember those infamous scenes from Victorious where Ariana Grande was sexualized? So, Dan was eventually fired from the channel, but his works are still alive, and you can see how many times feet are shown in iCarly. Luckily, kids don't usually notice that, but as for adults, many of them said it was so disgusting to watch. But what about the actors who have to participate in scenes with feet? Well, Noah Monk, who played Gibby, revealed that he understood that the filmmakers had that fetish. He said, "The foot fetish. I never really noticed that when I was 15 on the show, but of course, looking in retrospect, it's like, okay." Number 3. Nifty shades of beige. In one of the episodes, Spencer takes Guppy, Gibby's younger brother, to spend the day together, playing an arcade. But as it turns out, Spencer is busier with setting scores and winning the prizes than spending time with Guppy. So the boy spends the time with himself. Being not really interested in the flashing lights and games, he decides to sit at a table and read a really interesting novel named Nifty Shades of Beige. So, no need to be a big fan of literature to understand that it was a reference to a very popular adult book, 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. It is clear that gray was shifted to beige, and we all are pretty sure it didn't really change the plot of the entire book. This scene becomes even weirder because of the way it was filmed and edited. Every time Spencer was scoring a goal, we saw Guppy's face getting surprised by reading the book, and he keeps on reading and reading it. Of course, the book is way too much for a boy boy of Guppy's age, and he shouldn't be sitting and reading something like that while surrounded by skee-ball machines. Well, we all are happy for Spencer as he comes back home with a big stuffed shark that he won. But what about Guppy? Obviously, something is wrong with his innocent thoughts after reading this book. Number 2. Mean Girls. You have probably noticed the way Sam and Carly treat their guests. They are extremely mean to them, but what is really incredible is that the kids from their school keep on appearing on their show and are even ready to volunteer and more than happy to appear in iCarly's show. The pattern is easy. iCarly's guests appear in the show for a really little amount of screen time, and after their 15 seconds of fame is over, the girls treat them really rudely. The thing is that the co-hosts are typically not mean to their guests during their performances, but as soon as they are done, instead of thanking them for appearing at the show, they abruptly end their performance and act absolutely mean. But the worst behavior that Sam and Carly ever had on their show was at their iCarly Awards. The episode was all about giving awards to people who appeared on their show and showed their talents. But the problem was that the pair cut almost everyone off and even never gave them a chance to have a speech. The girls also managed to invite their schoolmate to the show to play a game, but then they scared her and just asked her to beat it on camera. Well, many adults who watched a real iCarly concluded that being a guest on the TV show's web show is a real nightmare. Number 1. Watch Me Spank Your Daddy. This scene is one of the weirdest, and we're sure you remember it because it's impossible to forget if you watched it as an adult. The idea of the episode: to spank Spencer. Spanky was using different objects found around the apartment, such as an umbrella, a toilet seat, and even a cucumber to spank Spencer. But it seems like Spencer was done with that and he intended to take revenge on the spanker. So if you thought that the weirdest things were already shown, you thought wrong, as Spencer tricks Spanky and Spanky ends up being handcuffed to their couch. Spencer's plan is easy: chain Spanky so that he cannot move and spank him with a broom. But then things get worse and super weird when Spencer says that Spanky's son is waiting in a large plastic tube. Moreover, Spencer then tells Spanky's son, "Watch me spank your daddy." When iCarly sees what's going on, she freaks out, and it looks like she doesn't really like what's going on in her living room. However, that is not what can be said about the filmmakers because the enthusiasm Spencer had to spank Spanky makes us think that it is another fetish. Is it Dan Schneider's thing, or there were some other filmmakers, showrunners, or even screenwriters who are in charge of creating such a fetishy vibe in the show? Let us know what you think about it in the comment section down below.
Watch me spank your daddy! Close your eyes, don't look!
Are there any other weird jokes and details that only adults noticed? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video. Thank you for watching and see you in the next episode.